Most people struggle to learn the violin because they always repeat the same mistakes. After playing the violin for 30 years and teaching hundreds of students, I have seen most mistakes and how to correct them. Today, I will show you, with real examples of beginners, how to fix 90% of them, step by step. So first, let's focus on bow sound fixes so that you can really have a beautiful sounds. Here is the first problem that I see by some new students. So here one of the problems was that the bow trembled. So this happened basically when you try to play with the bow on the string instead of letting the bow rest on the string. That means that I see a lot of people, they play on like they were trying to aiming the bow at the string like a dart, you know, and forgetting the string, instead of just letting the bow rest on the string. And because of that, it makes the bow very unstable. So you really need to feel that because of the gravity, the bow anyway stay on the string. And then feel that the weight of your arm is coming here. You can do this to feel it. And then when you play, let the bow rest and move it very regularly. Here what happened too is that it gave some accent sometimes that were not controlled horizontally and sometimes vertically. Or with the index finger, the forefinger. So what you want to aim to is to have the arm on the bow sitting really relaxed on the string, and parallel to that, moving the bow very regularly, without doing extra accent. So here the problem was that it sounded a little bit scratchy, the sound was a little bit unclear. That happened very simply when your bow is too next to the fingerboard. So here the easiest way to fix it is just to adjust the contact point and bring it a little bit closer to the bridge. Versus. And that brings us to the next problem is that by a lot of people it sounds sometimes like that too, a little bit squeaky. This happens in opposite when the bow is too next to the bridge. So what it means that you need really to adjust the contact point to find where it sounds best. There is no general rules that you should always play in the middle, always near a bridge, or always on the fingerboard. It depends on how much weight you put on the string and how much bow you use, and how high you play on the string and on which string you play. So that means that you need really to test it for every tone. But before you can do that, here is the next problem that you need to solve first. So now here the problem was that the bow was changing the contact point the whole time. And because of that, it's difficult to have a nice sound, like we just seen. And here the reason for that is just that the bow was not parallel to the bridge, but was like that or like that. And to fix that, actually, of course, you could train this with some mirror, but what you need to do, and that was the mistake here, is that when you play from there to there, you need always to do the movement only with the elbow and not with the shoulder. When you do with the shoulder, it happens that. When you do it from the elbow, the bow can stay parallel to the bridge, and because of that, it can stay the whole time on the same contact point. Then, next problem is that I see a lot of adult beginners, that sound very insecure how they play. This is really easy to fix, let me show you. And by the way, most of these videos are from students from me when they start working with me, and in the meantime they solve most of those problems, so I'm sure you could too. Here, what I see the most is that it sounds very insecure. Actually, intonation is good, the sound is good, but it sounds like really small. And I see that a lot. So here, something that you really need to understand is that sounding like a professional violin, sounding really secure, it's part technique and part how you play and how you feel. Because I saw like people that studied the violin like 20 years and they could play everything, but still it sounded like very small and insecure. To solve this problem, basically, the technical side will be to use more bow and put more weight, so that it sounds like that. It will be already way better. But then the next thing is that when you play, not when you practice, but when you play, there is a moment when you just need to let it go, don't think anymore on the technique, and just try to play, or you will be the whole time paralyzed, okay? So first, practice the right way, do a lot of techniques, but then when it comes the moment to play for someone or to record yourself, then really let go then. And just play, okay? That's really important. Something that helped me a lot doing that is just close my eyes and thinking of a great violinist, someone that's play really beautifully, really free, and figuring like I'm like him, okay? I'm trying to do like him. And then I find my own voice. And by the way, if you want to know exactly what you should do to play the violin beautifully, I'm organizing a free online violin masterclass. Register with the link below. Then the next problem I see a lot is when people touch outer string during playing. Something like that. And this happens basically when the bow movement is not on a fixed line, but is moving a little bit like that. Okay, that means that you need to play like this, on the same line, or not like that. So for this, you should really imagine some line, okay? And then try the whole time to stay on this line. And then something very important is that when something like that happens, it shows that you are not so sure where the strings are, because this problem happens a lot during string crossing. So what you need to do too is to work on your piece on open string. Example from before, I would work it like that. And the last problem for the sound is that it sounds too metallic. Something like this. This always happens when you are playing too tense, when you are not relaxed at all, and that you use too much weight with not enough bow, basically. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is just to completely relax your hand, the arm, everything. Put the bow very gently on the string without any pressure. And first, try to get the most soft sound possible, like that. Instead of this is way too much weight, way too much energy, just try to get the softest sound possible first. You should feel that every finger is like so soft, like a baby. Or when you awake in the morning, now you're sleepy, and you are awake, everything is like sleepy, okay? The same thing. So that you get first a very soft sound. So now let's go to the left hand fixes, and those are really important if you want to sound beautifully. And the first common problem is this. So you probably recognize the problem. Most of the notes are out of tune. This, of course, happens more or less to quite everyone. The real question is, what should you do to play the right notes every single time? And the first thing is that you need to calibrate first before you automate. What it means is that before you start repeating and repeating, first you need to be sure that you are playing the right notes. That means first practicing without any tempo. Just playing single note, very slowly, and trying to find where they are exactly, and you need then to be really sure that you're playing the right notes. So I play every note after another. I try to find it. So for every note, the way to find it will be different, and there is different methods. One very good for beginners, it's just to use some reference point. Basically G, D, A and E, are the same note at your open string and are easy to hear. So if I put here my G on the D string, I can compare it to the G open string. And on top of that, I can try to hear the resonance. When the note is right, I will hear some resonance on the tone. So it will continue to sound after I leave the bow. When it's wrong, the tone goes very fast down. Can do the same with the A. And when you have those two tones, for example, then my F sharp, I know it will be just next to it. That's all. That's easy. I will just put the two fingers next to another. Very next to another. And first, when you are really sure from where every tone is, should you start playing a little bit faster. And here, of course, what's very important is to practice 50% of the time technique, the technical exercises. Something very common that a lot of people do are scale. The problem is that they don't do the right scale for their level and they don't practice them the right way. Let me show you an example. Most people think that it's enough to play scale and repeat them, repeat them, repeat them. Unfortunately, it's not how it works. And by the way, what I see every time when new students come to me is that it's not that the student is stupid or untalented or too old. It's always that they didn't learn the right way, very often because the teacher didn't give them the right exercise, didn't give them the right instruction, didn't teach them the right way. So everything I show you today, you can correct it. No matter who you are, I'm sure you can correct it and play beautifully. So the right way to play scales is first, you need to play scales that are good for your level. Okay, that means that after you repeat them a few times, the result should be okay. If you feel like overwhelmed, it's probably that it's way too hard anyway. And normally, it should be part of the step-by-step plan. That's the best way, that's what I do with my students. Just to repeat a scale 100 times, that bring nothing in the opposite. What you are doing when you do that is that you are automating the wrong things, okay? And that's later on very difficult to correct. What we want is always to play the violin quite perfectly. The only way to do that is to learn step by step and to play slowly. And then gradually increase the difficulty and gradually increasing the speed, the tempo. That means here too, first you need to calibrate every note until you know, okay, those are the right notes, and then you can start automating. And if it's too difficult, maybe you should first start with a smaller version of it, like only until this small part first is right, then go to the next part. But when you repeat something, it needs to be right. And here is a very common problem. Here, the problem is not preparing the strings crossing. Here, what Denise did is this. That means that she play her first note is a C sharp and then a F, but to play the F, she removes the second finger and plays at the same time the first finger on the string, doing something like that. This is really difficult to do. What you want to do instead is, during playing the second finger here, you want to put the first finger already on the string. I put my first finger. I put my first finger in advance. That's what Ivan Galaman named always the difference between musical timing and technical timing. Musical timing is when you hear something, so when I hear the F. Technical timing is when I place the finger on the string. Here it should be before. So here she had a lot of difficulty playing the pinky finger. So I have another video only about that, but basically one actually of the common problem I find for new students is that they never really practice the pinky. Yeah? Actually, it's interesting, there is even some teachers that say like, pinky is difficult, just don't practice it, avoid it. But that's not a solution, because when you play the violin, you know, especially later on when you play in position, you need the pinky finger for everything. Like you can't play really well with 3 fingers, okay? So you need to practice it from the beginning, okay? And because it's a little bit weaker than the other finger, you should practice it more than the other fingers, actually. And here I will advise you 2 simple things. The first one is place your hand near to the string with the pinky finger directly above the string. That means don't move the whole time your wrist by playing, just stay like this so that you move only the fingers. And the second thing is practice very consistently the pinky finger by doing a simple exercise like, for example, 0, 4, then 1, 4, then 2, 4, and 3, 4. And this in different rhythm. So was there a few problems for the left hand on the bow? No, there is a lot of other problems that could really stop your progress and that are difficult to solve later on, that I will show you now. The problem here is that she is holding her breath the whole time. It's something I see a lot. On the problem when you play like that, if at first you will be very tense, you will feel very tired very quickly because you are not breathing, until it sounds like really dead, you know, like with no energy, nothing, okay? So a good exercise for this is just to synchronize your breathing with your bow. So for example, when you play down, you could breathe in, and then when you play up, breathe out. And then when you play later on, it will really help to stabilize your playing. Okay, and feeling relaxed and secure. Next problem is when the violin is unstable. Yeah, you play, but it feels like it could fall the whole time, or maybe it's falling, you know? And actually, I had this problem a very long time because one of my teachers at the time, she thought that the best way to hold the violin is to hold it in the middle here. So they changed my chin rest to have it in the middle. And the problem with that is that what happened in the next 10 years is that my chin rest was here, but I was still playing here. And because of that, it was very unstable. What's very important for the violin to be stable is the chin rest first, and then, of course, the shoulder pad. Quite everybody in our time is now playing with both. So I will really advise you to do this and not to try playing the whole time without one of us, because it's really difficult. And then you need to find the right one. So basically, here you need first to try it without this, only the chin rest first, and you should feel that the violin can't go away. That when you hold it here, okay, that it's already quite stable in this direction. Then the goal of this one is more to stabilize the violin in this sense, and when you are making shift or vibrato. The role of this one is really to feel the void between your shoulder and the violin. Because if you look, the violin here is way thinner than my neck, and that will be like that for most people, okay? So what you need is the shoulder rest, but it takes the place in between. Actually, it should be more on the upper side because of this, and not on the lower side. For example, that's how I put it myself. Like you see, is really more on the upper side, because the goal is not to rest here on the lower side, but to feel this part. And because of that, then you should feel that it's stable, even if I don't hold it with the left hand. But of course, when you play, you should still feel that. And here, next problem is that I see a lot of students playing like this, with the violin way too low. That's not good, because when you do that, the bow goes in this direction automatically, and then the sound is worse. You really need to support the violin to have a beautiful sound. Really easy fix. The next, a lot of people, the bow grit is really unoptimized, okay? And that makes really hard to play. I think a lot of people think it's maybe just something visual or something like that, but actually, so I studied more than 800 books and I studied every method from the best violin teacher in the world, yeah? And what I can tell you really is that there was a lot of testing about this, and this is so important. The best way to hold the bow is simple, is thumb here, third finger here, the fourth finger here, then here your ring finger and pinky here. And here, like you see by me, every finger is round. Not like that with the thumb. My fingers are not too apart, my fingers are not too next to another, they are just like in a natural position, very relaxed, okay, and natural. The next point, very important, is you need to start with the bow on the string 95% of the time, and at the beginner, the whole time. That means don't try to start like this, then always you will hear something will happen, it will be unstable. So just put the bow on the string and then start. It's way more easy because you can put first the bow on the string, then you can again optimize your hold on the bow, your arm, your hold of the violin, everything, and then when you feel ready, then start. And so here, a problem that a lot of more advanced people makes. Is playing with a fake vibrato the whole time. This is not a vibrato, okay? This is just when someone is too tense and then he tries to do a vibrato, but it's completely blocked. And so he tries to move fast, yeah? The problem is that first it doesn't sound good, and the biggest problem is that you can't improve it, okay? That's not a vibrato, you can't improve it so that it sounds good. What you need to do is first stop doing that, and then you need to learn the vibrato step by step from the start, because a vibrato that is beautiful that's a vibrato that you can really control. That means that you can control how fast it is, or why it is, so that it sounds beautiful with your piece. The next problem is to controlling everything with the A's. Okay, a lot of beginners, maybe you, just look at the fingers the whole time by playing, then the bow, then the note, and the bow. Okay, that's really difficult because they are trying to control everything with the A's the whole time. So here the solution is really easy. Close your A's and feel where your hand is, where your bow is, and how it sounds. Okay, and it's anyway the real way the right way to play the violin, by ears and not by looking, because you can't control everything at the same time, and it's not precise enough anyway. Something else very important, I see a lot of people practicing every time with a mute. Okay. And that's very good, a mute, so to practice sometime if you are traveling or if it's very late, so that it's a little bit softer, but you should never practice the whole time with a mute. Really, I would say maximally 50% of the time. Now, a last problem that is really easy to correct. So here the bow is way too tight, it's gonna to explode, it's gonna break the bow. It's an extreme case, but the thing is how tight or how loose the bow is really important. So I make a lot of tests with different bows from beginner, advanced people, and something that's really safe that always works is to have between the bow, so the wood and the air, 6 mm or 1/4 of an inch. Because basically you should really feel that when you press on the string, that the bow is still flexible, but at the same time, when you press on the bow, the wood should not directly come under it, yeah? Because you should never touch the string with the bow, okay? And most of the time, it should never touch the air too. Then, very important for you now is to first record yourself playing, then look for what's off based on what we saw today, and then focus on only fixing one thing at a time. Thanks you for watching.